good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from, or if you are catching us on replay. This is The Awesome Journey, and I am your host, Kelly Steinica, along with my co-host in care, Christy Howard. Oh, your other direction. Um, and we are just two girls that connected on LinkedIn 15 years ago, live on opposite sides of the country, have giving hearts, a passion for paying it forward, and I may have prayed to live louder in my purpose, and now here we sit in front of microphones. And as many of you know, and for those of you who are new here, one of our primary goals was to highlight incredible individuals to share their unique stories and challenges, because when we share those stories, we all just can be united or know that we're united in our personal journeys. And it was a way to share inspiration, motivation, hope to so many. And what we wanted to do today, which was a little bit different, we do have to say today is Lucky 13 episode, which seems kind of crazy on one hand. And then on the other hand, it feels like we've been doing this forever. But we had someone scheduled a few weeks back and they ended up having to change the date. And we just thought, you know what, let's keep this one open for the two of us that we can just kind of take time, one, to do a little bit of reflection on what's been happening, how we've gotten here, and then share about some things that we have coming up. Because, of course, the vision of the Awesome Journey to me wasn't just about doing a podcast or a LinkedIn Live. It was really a lot more than that. And, just again, a refresher for those of you who have been around and for those of you who don't know. At the end of last year, I was just kind of feeling in this funk, not just about being laid off, struggling in the job market. I became an accidental consultant. And I say that in the sense of I had no plan of being in the business of being a marketing and business consultant and leadership coach. So I kind of was building a business backwards, if you will, and was working with a client, quite honestly, that left me feeling so out of my zone. I was feeling held back. I wasn't living in my creative space. And I had this great domain called The Awesome Journey that was coming up for renewal. And I was kind of praying on it, being like, God, what am I supposed to do with this? Should I keep it? And because I always had a vision of it being a podcast, because it was just such a great name and it could apply to so many things. And long and the short, prayer kept leading me to Christy, who is now in Florida. I'm in Arizona. And like I said, we met 15 years ago and we've met in person now 6 times. So it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, why does Christy keep coming to mind? But I went with it and I called her and we talked about it. And she right away was like, love the idea. Let's definitely do this. Well, podcasting isn't as easy as it seems because there's so much back end stuff, and that is not our strength on any level. And we had both started doing LinkedIn Lives on the Hour of Empower, which I know many of you know, with Don Cohen. So we were like, why don't we just make this alive? And we quite honestly just were like, I think we should start on April 18th, Tuesday, 1/11. And that's what we did. And we were not ready to roll. Our first episode, which is so funny because I went and looked back at some of them, because you learn about your presentation, obviously, by watching other episodes. And I mean, we thought we were live on our first episode and we weren't. Then we went live and we didn't know we were live. So it's just been this kind of great comedy of errors on one hand. But what's been so great about all of it is that's life, just rolling with it. And we were like, we're just going to figure this out as we go, because all we're really trying to do is to share some light into the world. And like I said, some motivation, inspiration, hope. How can we pay it forward and help others? And quite honestly, it's helped us. Because when I say I was feeling in a funk, man, I was in a funk. I was feeling not inspired, all of those things. And this has personally helped me expand, grow, not just by all the incredible people that we've had on here, but by the emails that we get, the messages that we get. And before I get, more into this, I I definitely had a different vision of this conversation until Christy's post this morning. So, Christy, let me turn it over to you now, and you give a little bit, about yourself, a little bit of background, and then let's go to the image of your post, and we'll continue that conversation.
Well, a little bit about me. I just say read my about. I'm not going to go
Yes,
through.
go to our profile.
I'm not going to go through 61 years of who am I. Um, but both Kelly and I have always had that paying it forward heart. A servant leadership. You know, when I first met Kelly, she was about shine. I mean, she loved glitter. She was, we both have our little bling mics. We both liked, sparkly things because sparkle makes the life so much better. Sunshine. So going back to, yes, we met on LinkedIn. And then, as I said, I'm 61. And I was going through, Facebook always has those memories. And I'm like, I know I have a picture of a time that, Kelly and I were just getting to know each other. As she mentioned, we've only been around. Last time was she came to watch my dogs while I was in Asia. But it'd been about 2.5 years since I'd been to Arizona, and we had a luncheon with a bunch of my girlfriends getting together. So this image right here, and as you can see, I'm celebrating. It's my 50th birthday. So if you're from Scottsdale, you'll have known that that's the Coach House in January. And it's January, so it's warm. So looking at that, we look young, but we still look good. However, neither one of us would have had a clue of where we would be 11 years later. The relationship, the connections that we both have made here on LinkedIn, and the friendships, and just growing within ourselves, as well as helping others grow with them. So yes, so that was my 50th birthday party.
Epic.
So anyway, so when Kelly came to, she reached out to me, and first of all, I don't do podcasts. I don't really listen to podcasts because it goes through one ear and out the other. I like seeing somebody's face. That's, when you interview, you want to see the person. When you get to know somebody, um, you just want to see, and I talk with my hands and know I'm not Italian. However, we just keep on rearranging the first thought process of what it was supposed to be. We go from, but it's always about paying it forward and allowing people to have their voice to share their own journey. Because we all have that good, that bad, and that truly shitty time in our life.
Yeah.
But when we have those crappy times, we go through them, we go through the darkness, and yet when we see that shine again, the brightness, we realize we're still on that awesome journey. So that's why it's just, it continues to resonate to us of the awesome journey. So with some of the people that we've had on, recent, at the very beginning, you know, um, I'm about helping the job seekers. Kelly's about helping mentoring anybody and everybody, small businesses, just everybody. I mean, we both like, I'm a confidence coach. She's a career coach, but we're both coaches of trying to have people see the shine within themselves. So we've had the job seekers, we've had the recruiters, but we've also had some great guests that, retired undercovers, first responders. So I'm going to quickly do some comments and then flip it back over to Kelly. And again, this is, about this show. We don't have any script. We just go with it. And
'Cause that's life.
that's just how it's life. So let me go into some. We've got Aaron. Thank you. Thank you for
Hey.
always.
Yeah, so good
We've
to see
got, bear with me. I've got Patricia's right here. Thornton. Oops, hold on.
you. Hey.
This is Patricia Thornton. She's a mortgage lender, underwriter.
Nice.
Very, very good experience, just letting you know. So and she's a remote person. So, as I said, I'm all about helping the job seekers. This is Rosalind. She is a executive strategic business partner out of Florida, East
Nice.
Side. Unfortunately, we're not close enough to each other to go hang out, but good person. We have Paul.
Hey.
Paul always supports us. Thank you, Paul. Yesterday was my second anniversary. Yes, I waited until I was 59 to get married to the one and only that I've ever loved. But yes,
Yes.
it was okay. So we've got a chef.
Hey, Ashley.
Um, Paul mentioned, yes, that we've all became through COVID, many of
Oh
us became
yeah.
excellent. I'm going a little slow here right now. We've got Omar, and then Paul. It's interesting how many of our journeys to the live show realm are similar. My plan as well was to have a podcast, and I didn't like the maintenance
Yeah.
aspect. So he agrees with what we're doing. So yeah, so Kelly, let's keep on going on, just babbling.
Yeah.
That's what I
So
do.
it's kind of funny because like Christy and I were talking right before we came on, and I was telling her, I go, I kind of had a different vibe of what I thought I was going to talk about is after until I saw that picture. Um, because I was like, girlfriend, what if we could go back to those two ladies and say, 11 years from now, you two are going to be living on opposite sides of the country via a couple of stops in Texas, and you will be doing a LinkedIn Live together. We would have both, first of all, I would have said for a multitude of reasons, oh, hell no, am I going to move to Texas? Like, that's not going to happen. Nothing against Texas. I just really had no desire. But it's funny how life takes you. And we both did, which is even funnier. Christy was in Dallas and moved right before I ended up in Dallas. She moved to Houston, and it's kind of fascinating like how things work out, but those two young women would have been like, no way. And not that we would be like, that's completely insane, but at that moment I have no doubt we would have been like, that's just nuts. I First of all, I probably would, and the second thing with me would have been like, I will never be on camera. I at that time, I honestly think that that's when I first really started going out and re-socializing, because I had suffered a horrendous relationship that I'd been stalked for a couple of years, and being on camera honestly made me feel like I was being watched, and it was very much a trigger. So there's so many things to think these two women in this photo, um, all the things that have happened to lead us here. And it just kind of gives me goosies in the sense of, and it's such a great reminder for everybody here. You never know who you're going to connect with here and where it's going to go. Christy and I always had a good connection from the beginning. Um, we really liked each other. Christy's a no bullshit kind of girl, and I always respected that about her. Um, and I also think these two young women would never think that we would end up having the relationship that we have now. Um,
No.
because Christy is my go-to. I mean, when this just last week, something came up, and as soon as I was off a call being triggered, I called her in the midst of having an anxiety attack. Um, but we would never have thought of that in this photo. So it's just kind of, it's beautiful how life works out, and it's beautiful to reflect, because that's kind of, again, what we wanted to do today about how we got to where we are and where we plan on going. But seeing us as, young women and where we've come from that time to where we are is just kind of, it's crazy and beautiful and, amazing. And that's our journey to, and part of our awesome journey. And I mean, I could not be more proud of it. Looking back at the people that we've had on this show, can't thank them enough. People who have been supportive of it. And I've had people ask me, and it's funny because my mom didn't understand what this was at first, because she's like, "Why are you doing these things? You're not getting paid for it." But once she started watching them, now I went to lunch with her and one of her girlfriends last week, and the whole conversation was about what I do here. And oh my gosh, you had who on, and you had this undercover FBI agent, and you had, how are you guys doing that? What do you mean you're getting someone that infiltrated, Hell's Angels, and who's doing this work for you? And I was like, it's just Christy and I. And honestly, it's been shocking at how quickly our calendar filled up. And I don't want to say with no effort. It's not like everything completely fell in our lap, but everything just lined up like so beautifully. And really kind of one of the other things that has come out of these first 12 episodes is, some of the conversations that we've gotten into are deep, and, people's journeys, like Christy said in the beginning, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. And in some of these instances, the bowels of humanity, and I'm being kind and calling that in some of these situations, and how people turn that into, and I took this quote from, and I need to give him credit every time I say it. Clint Hatton, is one of his things is taking pain and turning it into purpose through the filter of love. And that's what all of these people have done. And it's just so inspiring and encouraging. And that's what we wanted to do. And I mean, there's many times that I've gotten off of a phone call with people as potential guests, and I just pinch myself like, oh my God, that just happened. Like, that is so cool. And we have some amazing people coming up, and still I pinch myself. But with all these deep conversations that we've been having, because they do go to ugly places, and sometimes, an expletive is appropriate in certain situations. And we thought, I don't want our guests to feel like they're being filtered or they have to hold back. And because that's happened a couple of times. We're like, oops, I just said a word I don't know that I should have said. And it's like, no, you're telling your story. Go with the
Right.
emotion of it. So what we decided to do as one of the things moving forward was to do an unfiltered version so that we can really dive deep into these conversations with our guests, and be like, don't worry about what you're saying here. Just, go with it. And we wanted to do it unfiltered in a way of, what, hey, if you're offended by someone using a 4-letter word here or there, then don't listen. You're being forewarned. It is unfiltered. Life isn't always pretty. One of the things that Christy and I just talked about last week, because of course the sound of freedom is everywhere, and you see so many conversations going on about it. And I don't want to get into any politics about it because it's not political. Our kids are not political. But it was very important to Christy. Actually, I'll let you take over this part of the story because it's a connection with you, and just so anyways, volley to you, my sister.
Okay. Well, going into our guests, I've in the past have surrounded myself with a bunch of undercover ABC agents, first responders, veterans. It's just, I don't know, it's just who I am. I like those cool people because they're out there doing things that there's no way in hell I would ever do. And it's not just on the movies. So I've been fortunate again that I've built some relations, some, good friendships and relationships. And when I posted about seeing the sound of music, there's a nonprofit. Oh, sorry, Sound of Music. Sorry, Sound of Freedom. Julie Edwards just went in my head. Sound of Freedom, a nonprofit that always comes to mind is Veterans for Children Rescue, and this is Craig Sawyer. I'm trying to get him on, however, he's not on LinkedIn. His nonprofit is. Um, but Veterans for Child Rescue, and that's what they do is they go out and rescue the children. However, there's another nonprofit that's out of Houston called the Red M, and the woman that runs it, Dottie, she assists the ungrooming of these children. And I'm hoping that I'm going to have a friend who unfortunately has the story of her daughter being groomed. They were able to get her out of it, stop it before anything happened. However, it stunned me because, even though I know how close it is, I think even when you actually know somebody who's gone through it, it still stuns you. and I'm hoping that she'll be ready to share her story. Um, so, and then we have veterans who have fought the worst of the worst of the wars. We have, we're hoping to get a group of men that are all about men's mental health.
They're
And
amazing.
it's all about men. I mean, it's all about men's mental health. And both Kelly and I are huge about the mental health.
Yes.
I'm very vocal about, well, we both are very vocal. I'm vocal about my rapes. She's vocal about her domestic abuse. Both vocal about our journeys with depression. However, men don't have the feelings safe to be able to share that because of society. Share that. So we're going to be in. We're having a conversation with this company, and we're hoping these guys come on and share this because we're about these nonprofits, these small businesses. They're not just Google. I mean, these are these are businesses that are out to help other people. We've got other some we have other small business owners that are unique that are going to be coming on. And what we both love about small businesses, I mean, we both have them. It's the passion. Yeah, we all want to make money, but where you start off is it's the passion, and it's the passion of paying it forward to give a product, a service to assist other people. And that's what, it's all about, passionately paying it forward, which we have the header down below, or whatever you
Ticker.
call it. Ticker. Thank you. I don't know. I don't do sports. Anyway, so this continues to grow. To It's like at first when I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I have other things to do, whatever. And then I go away to Asia for almost a month. And thank you, Kendra, for popping on and being my co-host, why I'm gone, and just be on the back end because I do plan on doing more travel. And unfortunately, sometimes I won't be able to, get online to be on it. But I missed not being on those certain, you know, events. Chris talking about helping people who have who are felonies.
Hmm.
You can have in Florida, you can have 3 DUIs and you're a felon. I think Texas and Arizona are the same because I've lived in all
I
three.
believe so too. Yep.
However, you have to understand, I look back to how I was, and especially that picture. I was at a bar. Luckily, I could walk home that night. However, you know, I could drive and get a DUI. I mean,
Oh.
all
Mhm.
of us have drank. But unfortunately, once you have that on your system, on your what's the word I want to say,
The
on your
record.
report, yeah, that you're a felon, you can't get hired. People question it,
Oh, you're
and
started
so
before you even get an opportunity to read it. Box checked. I'm not even looking at it.
right. So Chris Hennessy is great about talking about that.
Yes.
Clint losing his son, how he lives, the big, bold, and brave. We have it on the Awesome Journey page as well as our YouTube to go back and look at how we have fun. That's the whole thing. We also have fun, even when like Chris Fields talks about pulling out Bailey out of after the Oklahoma bombing. It's an intense story, but you can
Hmm.
afterwards still enjoy where he's gone. And, you know, so I just love that everybody's been chiming in and cheerleading us because we have no clue what we're doing. Um,
Nope.
as I said, we're two women that live on opposite sides of the country, um, and just having conversations over talking about our business, selling our business. It's just about we just want to have conversations as if you're sitting in somebody's living room
Yeah.
and you're just talking. Tell me about yourself, type of
Yeah.
thing. How
And
can I
that's
help you?
exactly what this is, right? And And I think even last week when we had Ashley on, who was awesome. I mean, I adored having her on. She was our employee or job seeker spotlight, if you will. And those conversations just remind me, and I'm telling you, and anyone who's thinking about doing a LinkedIn Live, I mean, just do it. You don't need to know how. We did it to figure it out as we go along, and each week I do think we get better. We have less technical issues, and we're expanding on things, which is great. You know, getting the YouTube channel up and going, and we still have some things there, but just rolling with all the punches, and really, what's so good for me, I think, my career has been a majority as a marketing executive in the financial services space, particularly in capital markets and private equity. And most of you probably just dozed off as I said that.
Oh, actually, I did. Sorry, you just woke me
Yeah.
up.
It's so precise, and there's so many like vetting processes, legal compliance, and all of these things that have to be done that, I mean, you do have to be as close to perfect as you can get because it's under a microscope. So for me to get out of, to be in the creative box where I can just jump and leap, like Christy and I say, we're just jumping out of the plane and doing this, has been such a rewarding, refreshing thing for me, because it's like, this is just how life is. It's not perfect. It is messy, but learning to laugh at ourselves. I mean, looking back at the past episodes, there were so, I mean, I was crying. I was laughing so hard a few times. And even looking back and being like, during Chris's episode, as a matter of fact, going, oh man, I called it the Alfred P. Murdaugh building, and it's Murrah. But I had just watched that dang Murdaugh family Netflix series on that crazy family. And I was like, oh, I feel so bad. I disrespected the name of the building. But it's like, oh well, I can't go back and fix it. But it's just, that's life. And I think this, for me anyway, has helped me ebb and flow so much more, particularly in the business space, helped us make more connections with people that are so much more meaningful. And like I said, I just personally felt the need to, and like Christy was saying at the beginning, my license plate says shine. And mine comes from, I was in a domestic violence relationship. That's not a secret. And when I got away from it, I said, like, I will never let someone dim my light again, that I am going to go out in this world and I am going to shine so bright, that others can't help but shine too. And I meant it, because I participated in that. And I was like, this little light of mine, I am going to let it shine. And everybody needs that sometimes. And even though, and like I just said earlier, Christy and I are both positive people, want to give back and help others as best we can, but we're also human beings and we also struggle. And so we get it. And, depression, situational depression, all of it, being out of the job market, feeling rejected, not knowing what to do. How do I even begin to have this conversation? And we just wanted people to know, hey, you're not alone. And we are here. And we've said this over and over again. We don't do LinkedIn Lives because we're trying to be private, so please don't send us a message. And I can say we're both completely blessed, because I have had people reach out to me, and I feel it's such a privilege to be able to be there for someone when they're struggling, or for someone to send a message afterwards to be like, wow, that really is what I needed today. Thank you so much. And we always encourage everyone that's in the chat, that is listening, or you see someone else make a comment, go connect with them. See what they're about. Set up a call. Again, if you're thinking about doing a LinkedIn Live, I cannot push it enough, because this is one of those things. At least I can speak for myself. It has helped me keep going. This gives me something to look forward to, regardless if I've had a super crappy week, job hunting, or something didn't go quite the way I wanted. I've got this to look forward to, and that makes me feel great, because my purpose is to be giving back to others. I truly believe that, and so it is just as much for us, in a selfish way, but the intention is always about giving, and I believe when you give, you get. in so many ways. And it's the get has been even bigger than I could ever have imagined with, like I said, the people, the guests that we've had, the grace that people have given us being a guest when we do have technical difficulties and them rolling with it as well. Um, God bless Bob Hamer, who to be our second guest is to be undercover FBI agent for 26 years. Um, and he honestly did not get on until like we were live. We had no pre-talk, no anything because he was having technical. And man, he just rolled with the punches. And it's been that way with pretty much everyone. We've had some technical difficulty in some way or another, but everyone has just showed such grace and has been um, so wonderful to share their stories and to be able to highlight them. And it's wonderful to be able to look back and go, God, I feel so proud of what we've been able to do. But it's not just what Christy and I are doing, it's what others are doing and sharing their stories, because we all have one. And our stories help others in some way, and some ways that you'll never even know about. And so uplift each other really is our bottom message, and pay it forward. And
Mhm.
remember that, days suck sometimes, but reach out to someone, say something, have a go-to. I'm blessed to have a great group of dear, close, tight knit friends. My best friend did move to Germany last year, so the time change is kind of an impact. But knowing that I've got two immediate go-tos, and it's kind of funny, it's Christy and Krista. Go figure.
There you go.
But knowing that there's two people that I can immediately go to on a dime, and all they're there to do is be there with open arms and then give me what I need to hear. And vice versa. They know the same.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of, I don't need you to coddle me right now. I need you to smack me back into reality because I'm being triggered or whatever the situation. Um, so that to me is just a gift, a blessing. And if there's any of that that we're putting out to the audience, again, it's to me, it's like job done, and how great it makes me feel. And I'm with Christy. I look forward to this every week. And I'm so excited of what we have coming up, and alluding to some of the guests we're going to have. I will say one of them for me, because as a career marketer and a vet supporter, many of you, if you've been following me for a long time on, on LinkedIn, know that I am a Black Rifle Coffee Company girl. Like, I love me some BRCC, everything that they represent. And their original CMO is going to be on at the end of September, I think. But he's going to be upcoming. So for me, it's the marketer, it's the supporting of the veterans and his story and what's happened with him. So there's just all these different layers of what we get to do, and it's just kind of, it's our playground. And I love the fact that it's really reignited for me, anyways. I guess the playfulness and like just being like, this is so great. Like, there's no script. This is life. It's forcing you to be present. Um, and sharing these stories of others has been, I mean, another blessing. There's a couple of the replays. I do recommend that you go back and watch the replays, especially on our YouTube channel, because you can get them now. There are some that I guarantee you need a Kleenex. I can't even watch them a second time without tearing up. Um, but it's not because you're sad. It's there's those tears of like, wow. I mean, you just feel the empathy for someone else in their moments, and then so blessed to be like, wow, you did that, and I feel inspired, motivated, and guess what? My life right now isn't that bad. Just I needed a good little reminder that things can always be worse, and it is always about how we see it and our perception. Whether or not we choose to look at it as shiny or dull, that's our choice. We just so happen to choose
Absolutely.
shiny.
So Paul had mentioned, he quoted himself that his vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. And then a sheath is my passion, is my purpose.
Amen.
Those who know me, we all have content hashtags. My hashtag is you have the here to help, mental health advocate, awesome journey. But we do have the power. We do have the purpose. And what's interesting is I hated public speaking. I've done it.
Me too.
But I hated it in my corporate world. My father, when he was alive, used to get so upset with me because he was a speaker. My husband would get upset because he's like, you can talk to anybody. I'm like, yeah, I just can't get up and speak. And then I realized that I need to speak from my passion. And my passion is paying it forward. My passion is allowing people to be open, to be vulnerable, to understand that they've got the confidence within themselves, as I had to figure that out myself. And I've learned from some of our upcoming guests because of their strengths, because of their own journeys. It just, what's interesting is every time we go through a show, somebody will pop up and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person needs to be on our show, and so Kelly and I'll be tagging each other. And, a lot of people are busy, but we've been fortunate where they're just like, oh, absolutely. And then I have people off my Facebook, that even though they're connected to me on LinkedIn, I'm seeing them more on the Facebook. And then I tag them and say, I would love you to be on our show. And then I'll get a DM me. Yep, I'm up for it. Let's talk. So what's cool is that we are booked until the end of September, and we were
Mhm.
booked until the end of September 3 months ago. So
Crazy.
now it's sort of like we're learning to be a little bit more strategic, because we know that people have their own life, and we don't want, and that's why we're not saying people's names, except we mentioned Dan, because you never know. We don't want to say, oh, well, this person's coming on, and oh, what the hell. My somebody who I adore and who is just the biggest rock star I've ever met, and with the biggest heart, but he's a badass.
Yes.
Jay,
Understatement.
Jay Dobbins. And if you listen to Bob and Chris's um,
Yeah.
video, they both mentioned them. And that's how I got to know these guys,
Mhm.
was through Jay. So we're fortunate that Jay has always supported me and and Kelly, and
Yeah.
he's going to come on, and hence why we're going to have to do the unfiltered, because you can't really just say, yeah, I infiltrated the Hells Angels and it was all, kittens and dogs.
Right.
It's a story. If you know anything about him, he has written 2 books, and he's gone through hell and back.
Yeah.
But he has the biggest heart I've ever met in somebody, and he is the biggest badass I've ever known. So yeah, so we've got Dan Horgan coming on. We've got Jay. We have Salim, who is his story is really cool for the fact that he's a small business owner, but he's helping other small businesses, and so he'll explain all that. Um, we'll always have job seekers. Our next week's going to be a job seeker who has had a struggle. He's got ageism on his side. He's been strategically looking for a job. He's doing everything right, but
Mhm.
the job search is really hard for people. And then we've got recruiters, but we've also have somebody who's going to share his story of how he has struggled with depression, which
Mhm.
will be great, because then hopefully this other company that work with just men with mental health will be coming on, and we can just open up a whole can of worms of that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this back over to you, to Kelly. We're going to cut it short
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah,
well, wait a minute. I want to just, acknowledge a few people,
yeah,
Paul.
Greg has a
Um,
really good comment up here too. Oh, so
be on social media. However, I do it because I know it's required to fulfill my passion. Okay. Greg, let's
there,
see.
here it is.
Triggers. Um, a
Another,
glimmer is the opposite of, okay, yeah, this is true. A glimmer, I have lots of glimmers, and I get that.
yeah.
I
And
understand, but we understand the triggers too. We understand, and Kelly and I had this conversation the other day, that we understand, once we understand that trigger, then we can move through.
yeah.
It's
And
when we don't understand what just happened,
mhm.
then that's where we struggle.
Yes. And I do want to say, because there's something about, domestic violence, and I won't get in all of this, but the reason I called Christy right away, because I mean, I was full blown triggered and it was out of left field. I mean, it so blindsided me, but I was so aware. And I was just like, girl, I need to talk through this because, man, I am full on panic attack. My heart is beating so fast. And, um, but it is recognizing it and then being able to go, like, holy mackerel, what caused that? And then really allowing myself grace, because what happened in the process of it for me was then I was pissed because I'm like, damn it, why am I so triggered by this like this many years later? And giving yourself grace. And like I said, it was from left field. Like you couldn't have planned it in the way that it happened, but then giving yourself grace. And it's just a reminder for us of why that this was so important, to help support everyone in some way. Everybody's going through something. Um, Mental health doesn't mean you have to be diagnosed with something. You don't have to have a file that says you suffer from PTSD, you suffer from depression, because there's situational depression. There's just feeling down. There's feeling rejected. There's so many things. And we wanted that to be at the core and to help uplift everyone, because we know a lot of people need it. And we just wanted to be a break from the norm. And again, to help motivate, inspire, encourage, and give hope to others. And, as ridiculous as we are on an occasion, because we did in the beginning, it's like, we can help everyone. Um, with the stories and helping job seekers. And so watching how this is organically going and what we continue to do, we just really look forward to what's ahead. And what we bring. Please do feel free to DM us with any questions. If you have any ideas, if there's any topics that would be important to you that we bring to the forefront, because I guarantee you we've got a contact that we could bring on for it. um, but I mean, that really is what we wanted to do today, is take a look back, and for ourselves. And this is a takeaway for everyone today, is we do forget to take a moment in all of our lives to step back and take a look back and go, wow, we did that, and move forward. That's not living in the rearview mirror. That's celebrating you for a moment. Because again, if you would have told these two ladies that are this way, um, that this would have been happening 11 years later, we would have just said, "You're batshit crazy."
There's
um,
no way.
but I
No
wouldn't
way.
trade this journey, this path, where it's led, how we've weaved in and out of each other's lives, truly so serendipitously, through Texas, of all things to boot, and how we ended up here. So, do you have anything else you want to say before I wrap, Chris?
If you're a job seeker and you would like to be spotlighted,
Yeah.
your voice is important. When you get an
Yes.
interview, they want to hear you, they want to see you. Please send us, either one of us, a message, and then we'll have a conversation to see, if the schedule, whatever fits
Mhm.
to go in here. But we would love you to be able to feel confident yet vulnerable to be able to share your journey of the job seeking, because right now it's a really tough time for so many. So, with that, Kelly, I say goodbye. See you guys next week, but it's all back to you, Kelly.
Yes. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us. We're so excited for what's ahead, and to help you help as many people as we can. Again, inspire, encourage, motivate, and add hope, because we're all on this journey together, and together we do make it awesome. Have a great day, everyone.